ultimately, the team deserves the best guy out there on the field. And the coaches, they make that decision. And I want that for the team too. I want the team to be in the best position to win. And so if that means me playing a 2-role and pushing Curtis as hard as I can, challenging him to be better, that's what I want, because I try to place the team's needs above my needs.
Welcome back to the Coaching Life Podcast. I'm Pat Martin. Here's my coaching colleague, Coach Chris Stewart. Coach, how are you today, my friend?
Doing great, Coach.
Thank you.
He got on to me a couple episodes ago.
It wasn't me. It was an observation by one of our listeners.
That's right. I guess it could have been any number of people got on to me. Because I want to use your personal Christian name, Pat.
Christian name. There's Team Pat out there.
Oh, I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Right.
I think your episode, when we announced that you were going to be the head coach of the Megs varsity baseball team, your episode is about to surpass Jimmy Burrow's episode for the most downloads, I think.
What?
Yeah. Well, second most. The most downloads is the very first episode.
One. Yeah, because people jump on it right away. Interesting.
Yeah, somebody asked me yesterday.
Be a bunch of people off Southeast Ohio preps.
All your buddies?
Yeah, all my
friends. Somebody asked me last night how many downloads we're getting per month, and if we monetize our podcast.
Of course, we've always agreed that we would hold off until ESPN or Fox Sports or someone like that contacts us.
It's going to be a while. Do you realize what it requires? In order to receive any kind of sponsorship and to make any kind of money at all on a podcast, how many downloads you have to have per episode per month?
No, I don't know that.
If you have 10,000 downloads an episode, then you can start making a little bit of money.
An episode?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
decent money. I mean, you and I could make $20 a month with with the number of downloads we have.
Oh, well.
We're getting between 800 and 1,000.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So we need to multiply that by 10.
Yeah. So about $20 a month. We could pour that into our baseball programs.
Well, we would make us professionals.
Professional podcasters.
Yes.
Well, let's get right into it. We got another guest today.
Shenanigans. Yeah,
yes. No more shenanigans. We want to welcome, I'm just going to bring him right in. Parker Navarro is our guest today on the Coaching Life Podcast. And Parker, he's over there on mic 3 in the studio. Thanks a lot for coming on at the last minute. Last night at 8:30 p.m., I threw it out there. Hey, you want to come on our podcast? So he's coming in cold turkey to talk to us today.
No prep.
Good deal. Let me give you some background on Parker. First of all, I just want to let you know, so since you have no prep, all Pat and I do here is tell stories. We have conversations. We used to have conversations up at B-Dubs all the time for lunch. And one day we were sitting there and we said, you know what? We should write this stuff down. And I thought even better yet, we just built a podcast studio and scripts. Let's record these babies. Because we had some idea. We were solving the world's problems when it came to youth sports and things like that. And so we planned on doing like a 5 to 7 episode series just to roll out this idea that we had for youth athletics or youth baseball. And we gained some fans during those first episodes. And so they said, why don't you guys just keep going?
Yeah.
149 episodes in. This is 149 today. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So we're glad to have you, Parker.
Absolutely. Yeah. And most of the time our conversations are about sports and the various people who experience them. We talk about parents and coaches and the athletes themselves. Last week we had an official on to talk with them about the shortage of officials in high school sports. But we're always looking for good stories to tell. And even more, I'd say we're looking for good people to tell their stories. I like putting it that way. And that's why we invited you to come on, because you might have a good story to tell. You do have good stories to tell. But even more, I know that you're in the category of good people. And so, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you betcha.
Thank you.
Let me give some background on Parker here before we get rolling. That way you guys can know who he is. Parker's a grad student quarterback for the Ohio University Bobcats. Hang on one second. We're supposed to do this.
Let's go.
Whenever we introduce somebody from the Ohio Bobcats, there we go. How's that sound?
That's awesome.
There we go. So we'll just let that run in the background here, all right? So you are majoring here at Ohio University in health sciences, but are you doing your grad program in that as well, or are you doing it in something else?
No, I'm in the MSM program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Master's of Science in Management.
Yeah.
So,
What do you want to do with that?
Not 100% sure yet. So I'm an undergrad in integrated healthcare studies.
Oh, okay.
So kind of have that health background with, now getting into the business side of things. So I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I've had 2 major injuries.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think medical sales or large medical equipment, the operation of that, the sales, going into hospitals, helping medical staff operate that type of stuff. Something of interest right now.
Right.
But
So are you in you're a graduate student, so you've graduated. Are you in your junior year of football though?
I'm going into my senior year.
This year right now is your senior year?
Yes.
Okay.
So I graduated in 3, technically.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
I'm starting my
I didn't know how many, because I know, so Parker began his career at UCF, University of Central Florida, all right? Transferred here after the 21 season, or in the middle of the 22, right around there? Spring of 22?
The spring of 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that just so happened to be when John Rice Plumlee
Yeah.
Plumlee transferred to UCF.
Yes.
from Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Yep.
2-sport athlete in college. Yeah.
Baseball guy.
Yeah. He's a baseball guy. Phenomenal athlete. And he's hurt right now, isn't he?
Yeah. Hurt his
Yeah.
leg. Not sure how long he'll be out.
Now, did you have any intersection with him?
Yes. Yeah. He came in after, let's see, after the season, and he was there for the spring, I believe.
Gotcha.
With me. So we shared a spring together.
Gotcha.
Great guy. Solid Christian as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is about you, so let's talk about you some more. Just recently, you threw 2 touchdown passes in Ohio's home opener against Long Island University. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You were 5 for 7 passing with 60 yards. Also had 6 carries for 34 yards that day, which is actually, I think, what really got the offense going was, your ability and your willingness to just put your head down and run, right, and get out there. It sort of created another dimension that LIU had to account for.
That's what makes QBR go up.
Exactly. I think your passer rating, what is it? Is it right around 70% right now, I think?
Probably.
I think it
Probably
is.
around there.
Okay,
Yeah.
listen to him, probably. He's not looking at stats. That's right.
Not looking at
That's
stats.
good. That's good. Hometown he's an Arizona boy. Tempe, Arizona.
Yep.
High school was, what was the high school? What'd you name your high school?
Desert Vista.
Yeah.
High School.
Yeah.
Desert Vista.
Desert Vista Thunder.
The Thunder?
The Thunder.
Nice.
Okay. One of those mascots that does not end in S. There aren't very many of those. Can you name 5 of them? The Thundering Herd from Marshall. 5 college mascots that don't end in S. The Stanford Cardinal is another. I'm trying to think of them as well.
How do you know there's 5 if you're...
I don't know that there's 5. I'm just asking, can you name 5? Like, there aren't very many. The Fighting Irish, Notre Dame, there's 3.
Yeah. Can you make it singular? Like if you're talking about USC, like the Trojan?
No.
Or is it?
Because it's Trojans.
Yeah, they are mascot. Technically, they are Trojans, right?
Okay.
We're Bobcats.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a weird thing I'd thought of when I don't know what made me think of that.
No,
but-
I'm not going to be able to forget it.
now I'm gonna be
that's a
thinking
little
about that.
trivia we'll put out there. That's our trivia question for the day. But Parker was a 3-sport athlete in high school, and these are the sports that he played: football, of course, but also men's volleyball,
Very
and
nice.
track.
Yeah.
Right. So is men's volleyball in high school not in the spring?
No, that is in.
It must be a winter sport.
It's a winter sport.
Really?
So it's right after. I believe it's right after football.
Because I believe that there's some talk here in Ohio, OHSAA, of wanting to sanction men's volleyball or boys volleyball, high school. And I think it would be a spring sport here because I'm dead against it.
Oh, no.
Maybe maybe it was a spring sport.
So did you do volleyball and track like simultaneously? Do you remember like having a match or a race?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Now you mention, I do. I remember the.
So I think it is.
conflict of
Okay.
the two.
Yeah. Lacrosse conflicts with baseball. Volleyball conflicts with baseball.
Track
And of course, track conflicts
yeah.
with baseball. Doesn't have to.
Yeah.
You could swing both. Like you did both, volleyball and track. But you're still a 3-sport athlete because of it.
Yeah, and YMCA basketball too.
Why I'm see, I always tell my guys that say, well, I'm in season. I'm playing when they're playing like rec ball, basketball. Like, no, you're not in season. Get to weightlifting.
Yeah.
You need to be.
Yeah.
Right, that rec ball is not in season. We're talking about a scholastic sport, right?
Yes.
So you're saying you're a 4-sport athlete because you play basketball at the Y?
Some of my football buddies and I,
Okay.
we'd be too late because we had a good basketball team. They won state 1 year, and so it'd be tough for us to come on to the team like after tryouts, and
Yeah.
so we got a group of us and just started a YMCA team.
So let me ask you this: was your school? I read your school is like every state is different. Like Ohio, it's Division I, Division II, Division III. Division I being the biggest, and then all the way down to 7 in football. There's only 4 in other sports. I saw Tempe, where you were in Tempe. It was a 6A school
Yeah.
or something like that. Is that big or small?
Big. So it's
Okay.
6A down to 1A.
So you played 3 sports in a big school.
So 6A is the largest
It's the
class.
largest.
So you, what, 2,500 or so students in the whole school?
I think around 3,000 something. Like
Jeez.
my graduating class was like 750.
That's unreal.
Nice.
See, that's very rare to have someone that plays more than one sport in a school that size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which tells you why he's a Division I athlete.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So, well, above all else, I'll say this. Parker is on the student leadership team for Athletes in Action. He's a member of our church, where he has also played some guitar with our worship team, right? Mm-hmm. Last night, he gave his testimony at the Athletes in Action meeting, and it was very inspiring. And I know that we're going to have an outstanding conversation here today with Parker. So, Parker, officially, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be
Awesome.
here.
Yeah,
Glad to be
definitely
here.
glad to have you, Parker. Well, let's just start off talking about Ohio University, the campus here in Athens, and what made you want to come to Athens to play football.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, I was at the University of Central Florida for my first 2 years. And then broke my collarbone, had a coaching change after my first year, and thought it was just in my best interest to kind of find opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah.
Just looking at my goals and what I want from this time in my life. So I entered the transfer portal, had a few schools that offered. I think ultimately, though, it came down to a few factors, and it was different it's different from when I was coming out of high school. I was more intentional with what I was looking for in a school.
Mm-hmm.
And big thing for me, obviously, my first year, my coaches got up and left. They got a good opportunity at Tennessee, Coach Heupel. And so a big thing for me was coaching stability and making sure,
Nice. Right.
That's a scary event, isn't it?
It is, and it's unpredictable.
You're recruited by this coach or this set of coaches, and then you wonder, what is the next one going to see the same thing in me that the previous one did?
Right. And so that was a big factor. And I also wanted to be at a program that has had success. And for me, like, I was looking back at just the culture of the program and just kind of like the legacy that they have. And coming here and checking this place out, undoubtedly they had a really good culture. And they had a winning culture. And then obviously, kind of the stuff that we run in our offensively, I felt fit my skill sets. So it's just a combination of those factors that kind of led me here.
Yeah, I'm glad that we are asking you that question, because I went back and did just a little bit of research before we came in here today, and you had a pretty decent season, actually. Your first opportunities at UCF.
Yeah.
I mean, you appeared in 5 games at quarterback and on special teams. You ended up being tied for third on the team with 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 in each of the final 3 games of the regular season. You also rushed 7 times for 54 yards and an average of 7.7 yards per rush. Went 1 for 2 in the air, passing for 4 yards in the Gasparilla Bowl against Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, decided to transfer out. But those reasons make a lot of sense to me now.
Oh, yeah.
Hearing that, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the 2 words stability and culture just just shouted at me when he was talking there. And I think coaches can learn from from a player saying those two words. I mean, it's so easy not to think about the sport other than just what you're putting around the young men. I'm talking that from a high school perspective too.
Right.
It means so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not only the stats and the game and what you accomplished there, but something else that I found is you had a fan base there.
Yeah.
Right? Have you ever searched your name in Twitter?
I haven't.
Yeah.
I know my mom sent me some articles.
People loved you.
Yeah,
they were bummed that you decided to go.
Yeah, they were very supportive.
Yeah.
The Knights fan base.
Yeah, and I think some of those, like if you search your name on Twitter and then you do like latest instead of top, people still from Florida, Central Florida, I mean they'll still talk about how it's, that how they keep an eye on. They noticed that you had a good game for Ohio, and they're really pleased about that. Yeah,
there was a really cool tweet that I saw, and I mean the quarterback room there now is completely different. But when I was there, I was there with Mikey Keene, Dylan Gabriel, myself, and then John came in a little bit after. I forget exactly because guys leave at different times.
Right.
But it was a stat. So Dylan is now at Oklahoma. He's a starting quarterback at Oklahoma University. Mikey's at Fresno State, and then I'm here at Ohio University. And then, Tommy Castellanos at Boston College. He was there with me as well. So Tommy transferred, Dylan transferred, Mikey transferred, I transferred, and then we were all in that same room together. And it was cool because Tommy's at Boston, Dylan's at Oklahoma, Mikey, Fresno, me here, and we all scored touchdowns.
Yeah.
At our respective
That's
schools
right.
now.
Yeah,
So,
I saw that stat. Was it after the LIU game? Yeah. I saw that tweet. Yeah, that was really cool. I like folks on ESPN were even mentioning that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was some kind of a record where all the quarterbacks that were once at UCF scored a touchdown that day.
And then John Rice, of course. He scored as well. So.
And I would guess when you have somebody like that come into the program too, I mean, I would guess did that have a little bit to do with some of these guys wanting to go elsewhere?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I know Dylan's was a little bit of a different situation, but you get a kind of a new coach who comes in and he's got guys.
He's got his guy.
He's recruited.
That seems a little unprecedented to me, though. I guess I wouldn't be able to sit here and say that for sure that's never happened. But to lose the whole quarterback room, a new coach.
I think it's a sign of what is just going to happen from now on.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see it a lot more
now. Yeah, under the new rules. But is it? Yeah, I guess.
I mean, you wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right. Yeah, good point.
Until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
All those guys are very talented. And so, I think they knew they were all capable.
Yeah, sure.
Well, and I mean, the alternative is, you've got a staff coming in that know nothing about. They know nothing about you. They, there's been little communication between you. If you can find somewhere where people are opening their arms and saying, "Please come play for us," that it's just naturally you're going to want to go, play there.
Well, let's stay in that along the same context then. So you're here at Ohio now, and currently you're in a backup role to Curtis Rourke, right? I mean, Curtis is the starting quarterback at Ohio University. Can you talk? I think it would be good to hear from someone of your integrity, your character, your stature, and your ability. I mean, knowing what you're capable of yourself, to talk about the importance of embracing that role, which is a role that is not your number one desire. It's not what nobody wants to be a second stringer or a third stringer or and granted, you've had some setbacks as well that have contributed to that, but those are also part of the frustrations, part of the process. But, as someone who is a competitor, but also a teammate, can you talk us through just how you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, at first, just coming at UCF and kind of stepping into that role right away, I guess I didn't really know what to expect as coming out of high school. But that was tough for me being in that role.
Everyone's a star in high school.
Everyone's yeah. And so I didn't know how to handle it. And I remember reflecting a lot, like how should I, because I'm just competitive. And so you just get frustrated, you get angry. And I'm like, this isn't good. Like this is not going to be conducive to me performing well at all. Nor is it going to be good for the team to have these feelings like, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
That's my position. That's me. And so, I kind of flipped the script. I'm like, okay, well, if say I'm the starter, like how should I view those guys under me, And I think you see this out of Curtis and a lot of those good leaders that are, in those roles. They treat everyone on the team with respect, and they value everyone on the team because everyone does play a role. And so to see that from that view and then come back to where I'm at in my position, I thought it's so important that, obviously I'm one snap away. If anything were to happen, I'm one snap away and I have to be ready.
And you have been this year.
Yeah. Right. And, for this, we have a really talented team. And so I always tell myself, I'm not going to be the reason that this team doesn't reach their goals. And so that's a little bit of motivation for me.
Because you still have a job to do.
Exactly.
You still have an impact on the team.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, it's especially at my position, it's constant like preparation. Every week you're putting in just as much as that guy ahead of you. Unfortunately you don't get to go out there, but like that same level of like intensity and focus has to be there. It can't be lacking.
That's why I think it's more difficult.
It's
a more difficult role.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
But, a big part of my growth in that role has been seeing that position as very valuable and seeing where I'm at is very valuable. And I have to convince myself of it because I know it to be true. And, you don't have people like congratulating you, like you do when you get to go play on Saturday. However, I just think that's critical, especially for like the younger guys on the team, to see me in that position. Because I know when I was a freshman, and we have a lot of freshmen. You come in, you're not going to be the guy right away. And so I would have liked to see an older guy when I came in handle their position well, and handle maybe a 2 spot, maybe a 3 spot, with a lot of focus, with seeing it as like this is an important role. Because a lot of times you see guys just in those spots, they're just kind of, they lack focus. They just complain. They want to be in that one spot. And I just didn't want that to be me. So, and I try to, my mindset too is I try to compete every day with Curtis, and I try to push Curtis.
Make him better.
And make him better. And he pushes me. And I think ultimately the team deserves the best guy out there on the field, and Curtis is a talented player, and the coaches they make that decision, and so that I want that for the team too. I want the team to be in the best position to win, and so if that means me playing a 2 role and pushing Curtis as hard as I can, challenging him to be better, then that's what I want, because I try to place the team's needs above my needs.
See, I think one of the variables to this kind of a role is that it's a double role. I mean, you're not just preparing for the role that you have, but you're also preparing for the role that you could have at any given moment, and additionally the one that you want. It's a different dynamic than being in the position that you really want. Now I'm just competing to keep my spot. But every day, if you don't have a role that is your top choice, the value from what I'm hearing you say, Parker, is the value for you is that this is still a leadership role. Like, I love that perspective. Absolutely. Is that I need to be a leader in this role, because the number one goal for all 8, I don't know how many guys are on the roster, 80, I don't know. How many guys are on the college roster?
100.
Is there 100?
Something?
Yeah, that's true. You
But
probably
then
don't,
you
you don't
travel.
travel with that.
Yeah, you don't
right,
travel
right,
that
right, yeah. Well, for all 100 guys, 120 guys, our number one goal is to win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
and if everyone does their job of all 100 plus of
Yeah.
those players, that's going to give you your best opportunity to win.
the jobs that are not glorious,
Yes.
as well as the jobs that are glorious, of course. And those are the easy ones. They're not easy. Nothing's easy. But it's just a little tougher
Yeah.
to not have a glorious role, right?
It is.
And I look at the successful teams that I've been a part of, and I think this is like the challenge of those people in the one spots, the stars on the team, to encourage those scout team players and to get them excited for practice. Because obviously if you're in a scout team role, or if you're in a 2 or 3 role, you have the same goal. The whole team wants to win, but they have different goals. They're trying to still prove themselves on the team.
Yeah.
And if you can be an encouragement for them and get excited when they make a play and get excited when they give you a good look, come up to them and say, I appreciate that. Like, it's awesome. Or, just make their day better.
Right.
You're going to see them work harder for you. And I try to be that for those guys. And I think our team does a really good job of that. Like, our leaders on our team.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do coaches give out like scout team player of the week, things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have rewards and recognition in place for those guys. And I think it's awesome.
We have an award on our baseball team called a Dirtbag Award. A lot of times it goes to that kind of like, because we don't really have scout teams for baseball, but we have guys that play those not everyday player roles for sure. And our substitution's a lot different. You can't come into the game and then back out.
Right.
Once you take a guy out, he's done.
Right.
I mean, it's all, and so when you create a starting lineup, those are the guys that are playing today.
Yeah.
Like, imagine only 11 guys are playing on offense. Only 11 guys are playing on defense. That's it. It just doesn't happen that way. I mean, you're running out constantly. And so it's tough. In every sport, it's tough. Whether you're substituting often or not, it's tough when you're not the starter.
Yeah, it's all relative, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in your case, maybe even a little bit more tough because of the journey that you've been on, to get where you are. You've been in that number one role, and due to some unfortunate circumstances, you've kind of found yourself into this role that you're battling to get to a different role and helping your teammates to win. You were hurt, you were injured, I guess a couple times throughout your career. Would you mind talking about that injury, maybe how you came through them, and so that someone out there that might be experiencing a similar situation might be able to get something from it?
Yeah, so I shared a little last night about my testimony with my injuries. So my second year at the University of Central Florida, in the end of my second year in the spring, I broke my collarbone. Up to that point, never have seriously gotten hurt in sports or athletic play. So first broken bone as, competing.
How'd you break that? Can I ask you that real quick? Like, what happened? What was the actual play?
We were, it was a scrimmage, and we were going live. The quarterbacks were live. This is when they're trying to figure out what everybody had in them, And so I'm, dropping back. It's a third down, like third and long. We need to convert, and get the snap, drop back. D-line twist up front. We miss them. Up front, shoots the A gap. I throw it down the middle, catches it. D lineman lands on me, all his body weight, and takes it to the ground and broke it. And so I got up and I didn't think I broke it. So I actually finished the whole drive. And our cadence was a clap. And so I was clapping. I'm like, every time I clapped, I'm like, something's moving. It felt like, those bones were just not right.
Ugh.
So
Was that on your left side or your right side?
I was on my left side. So
non-throwing
still,
side, but still.
Yeah.
And so you felt like, well, I can keep going. It's on my left side.
Yeah, I was
then
like,
you clap.
Right. So I was just hoping I didn't get a pull read because I didn't want to be tackled.
Right.
And I finished the drive, and I actually threw a touchdown on that drive. It was a fade ball.
Wow.
It was 6 plays later.
War story right there.
Yeah. And so that was a cool story. And then I run off the field and I'm grabbing my arm, and one of the other quarterbacks comes up and he's like, "You good?" And he takes my arm with the broken collarbone and puts it around him. Like, that's the hurt one.
Yeah.
That's the hurt one.
Shoot.
And so that was the collarbone. That was the collarbone injury that I've suffered. And then that summer, I had transferred over to Ohio University, finished my rehab throughout the summer, Was fortunate enough to start fall camp. Actually, I suffered some injury too in fall camp here. I rolled my ankle. That took me out for like a week, and then I strained like part of my back. It was very odd. I think it was from throwing or something. I don't know what I was doing, but those were kind of two nagging things. Season starts though, and I'm good. I get through those, and then the third game of the year against Iowa State. It was in the fourth quarter. I get tackled, rolled up on. I put my arm out to brace myself, and the Iowa State defender's like grabbing my jersey, and like my body kind of goes over his body, and he rolls into my arm. My arm like hyperextends.
That was gross.
That's the Nick Chubb situation. Huh?
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. And I tore my ulnar collateral ligament, so my UCL, straight off the bone.
We are familiar with that ligament.
Yeah.
Not
overhand throwing,
not getting injured
people
in that way.
Yes.
But,
yeah, not the same way. Yeah.
Right. And so found out how to get Tommy John. Yeah. And that's 6 months. So season was done.
Yep.
And it was very unexpected. But it's a situation like that, at least how I see it, it's like so far out of my control.
Yes.
I don't know how I could be frustrated or angry. My faith is a large part of my life, and so I put a lot of trust into God, and to doubt kind of like something that big in my life, like that's not part of the good plan that He has for me. I just didn't really cross my mind. So I think the hardest part is showing up every week to practice, just watching your guys, knowing you can't be out there.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
But besides that, the process of rehab, 6 months no throwing, and then you can start throwing. So I started in spring of this year, and kind of built my arm tolerance up throughout the summer, and then
I remember you telling me one day after church, during this just starting to throw period, that you felt like you were. Well, you put a really positive spin on it. You said, in many ways, I am relearning how to throw a football again. And so all of the bad habits that I once had, this is a good time to get rid of those.
Absolutely.
I wish I would have I didn't get to really see you throw a ton before that injury, but right now your release is really quick and short.
Yeah.
And I don't, can you see the difference in your mechanics?
Yeah, actually, I think I've been working on one thing. I've been trying not to keep it complicated.
Right.
Since when I started throwing, and I was like an overstride. I feel like I had going. And they say, I don't know the body too well, but they say when you overstep, you have to compensate at the back of your release. So your arm gets long.
Yeah. It drags.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I've been working on that, and Curtis does a really good job at this. He's very much rotational, hips fire, arm comes through. And so there's that one thing I've been working on, and it's really helped me quicken up my release and made me more of a rotational thrower rather than like a striding over hand thrower.
Yeah. It's amazing how much these
baseball.
sports overlap. Well, I mean, Tom House is a great quarterbacks coach.
Yeah.
Tom House is a pitcher he's a left-handed pitcher.
Yeah.
And
do you feel like your velocity's increased?
Yes.
Yeah.
Immensely. And it feels easy. Like it's easier to throw it.
Interesting.
But it's coming out quicker.
I love how you said you're just focusing on one thing.
Yes.
Coaches overcomplicate things all the time.
We do.
I overcomplicate it too in my head.
Sure.
So
and a lot of times you don't have to. You may have 5 things you got to fix, but you don't have to fix all 5 things. Sometimes you fix that one thing,
yeah.
right?
You can't if you're not focused on
other
one
things
thing,
will fall
it's hard
into
to fix
place.
anything.
Right.
Well, I love that perspective, Parker, and I don't think we talk about all the time having what you fall back to as an athlete when things go bad. You're gonna fall back on your preparation or your safety net.
Right.
And your safety net's often your experience, your preparation, or your faith.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can have a perspective like you have without having a significant amount of faith. So I applaud you for that.
Yeah.
And you alluded earlier to when we first started talking how your aspirations of your professional career after football is tied maybe somehow to this journey, these injury journeys.
Yeah.
Is that true? Can you
Yes.
speak to that a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, very much. I went to a Dr. Kremchek.
Oh, yeah.
Here in Cincinnati. He does all the Tommy
Yeah.
John surgeries. Got to experience he kind of walked me through what it's going to be like.
You saw some famous people on his wall.
Yeah.
Pictures. Yeah.
But yeah, he actually recorded the surgery and gave it to me.
Oh, sweet.
I'm like,
Yuck.
I was kind of interested, but not really.
Yeah. Thanks, Doc.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to watch it.
I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
I do like to
Depends
watch
on
those
how
type of things.
morbid you
Although
are, I guess.
I couldn't watch it live, but I could.
Well, yeah.
My dad watched it live. They let him come in and watch it. They had this little viewing area.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
I think I
maybe
could.
I could.
watch. I think I could watch my son. I think I could watch
Yeah.
it happen, but myself, I don't know, because I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. Did you watch it?
I peeked at it.
Okay.
Because I let my trainers look at it. They're like, I want to see it. I want to see it. So I turned it on. I looked at it for a second. I was like, I can't
Yeah.
watch the rest.
Now, did you see how badly torn your ligament was? Did
Yeah.
you actually the actual ligament, not the MRI or whatever, but the video? Were you able to see?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I do remember they pulled the palmaris longus. It's a tendon in your wrist. I watched that because you can't really see the scars, but there's two right here. They pulled it out. They just kind of made that small incision and kind of just, and then cut it and then put it in there.
How they
In my elbow.
they use other pieces of your body to fix. Yeah,
That was very weird because I'm like, what are they pulling out of my wrist?
I
when
tell
was
you,
watching
it's absolutely amazing how far everything's connected. You could take, if they say that a fork ball is actually not good for your the UCL, because if you take these two fingers right here and you split them, you can feel that right there.
Right.
And why? Because that stuff is all connected, and you can feel it all the way down into your fingers. It's amazing.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that's
You would think you would need that, what they cut off.
You don't though. Some people don't even have it.
Huh.
Yeah, it was. I mean, this
It's
is
can you bend your hand all the way back now because of it?
I don't know. It doesn't feel different, but yeah, they said people it serves no anatomical purpose. They say some people don't have it, and it's luckily
That's why
I
God
had
gave it to us.
Yeah.
If
So
we
what do
need-
they do?
It's spare parts.
Is it just from donors or whatever? If someone needs a UCL surgery that they don't have that?
We'll take it out of your leg. And
You
then-
got them elsewhere, don't you?
Yeah. So and that would have sucked because I would have been on crutches and stuff.
Right.
So I'm very
So
grateful.
they're taking it out of you. They're not
Yeah.
going to get. You're like your dad standing there. He's like, no, don't take it out of his leg. Take it out of my wrist. He couldn't do that. He couldn't volunteer for that.
Maybe.
I'm gonna donate.
I'll donate my tendon.
I'm gonna put it in my will.
Yeah.
that my
Well, Jake has had some injuries that he broke his collarbone.
Jake broke my
Yeah.
oldest son broke his collarbone. He was a quarterback. He started playing football 8th grade. Played quarterback as a freshman. His first JV snap, broke his collarbone, and he's never played quarterback again.
Pretty darn good tight end though.
Yeah, he's
Linebacker.
Yeah, he's finding some other roles.
Really good catcher. He's been starting varsity catcher since his freshman year.
Okay.
And it's not just because his dad's a coach.
Right.
Because I've been trying to get him to transfer to where I coach because he would start there as well.
Yeah, that's why I asked how you did it. It's like I've become really interested in broken collarbones. I can see you getting tackled by that lineman.
Yeah.
Just how your shoulders would compress on
I
the
have the video and I have the X-ray if you're afterwards. If you're curious.
Of that,
Yeah,
of that
just-
bone?
Yeah.
Or of that
Of
video
the
of that
hit.
play?
Yeah, of the hit and the X-ray.
Was it a clean cut, or did they have to do surgery, or?
It was clean.
Yeah.
It broke all the way through.
Yeah.
So I have a plate in there and 6 screws. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yep.
They didn't do surgery on Jake.
There's not a ton you can do about those, is there? Except for when you break it clean through, I guess.
Yeah.
But if it's just what do you call wouldn't be stress fracture? What would it be? Because compound is when it's broken all the way through,
Yeah.
right?
Hairline maybe.
Hairline, I don't know.
I can't even remember now.
Anybody that's in the medical field listening to us are like, you guys are
You
idiots.
just shut up. They're cringing.
Stop talking about stuff you don't know anything about. Well, let's talk about something we do know something about. It's becoming it's fascinating, at the same time extremely inspiring to me to see the faith of all of the athletes. I mean, not the faith of all the athletes, but the way faith is intersecting with sports right now. with Deion Sanders, and I mean, Deion has always been an outspoken, not always, but for many years has been an outspoken Christian. And it just, I mean, I don't understand how, I think people just don't like his flash, but man, I tell you what, Deion's a solid dude.
Yeah, I like
My role with athletes in action and working in a chaplain role with the football team, getting to see and the number of, not just the number, it's easy to say the number of Christians on a team, but the number of people who don't just claim to be a Christian, but actually embrace their faith and live it and speak it. And you and I were talking about this Friday night after chapel, a little bit about how it seems odd. The Apostle Paul says, "I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it's the power of God for salvation, for all those who believe." And we talked about that Friday night, and I said, for years, sometimes it seemed like it was an anomaly to hear somebody say, not just after a game, say, "I thank God, for this win" or whatever, but really speak about the. Well, I'll give you an example. Here's an example, and this is Brock Purdy. Mm-hmm. An interview with Brock Purdy on Jason Romano's show Sports Spectrum, which if you don't follow Jason Romano on Twitter or whatever they call it now, I highly recommend it because
right. I have a story about kind of Brock.
Do you really?
Afterwards,
okay, well I'll play that here. Listen to this.
I think the media for sure. There was questions brought up in terms of how do you do it, and for myself it was honestly, you want the truth because this is the truth, and I'm not going to just say like a worldly answer of. I look in the mirror every night and I tell myself I'm good.
I'm going to pause this for a second because I should have said this. This was right after, like a week or two after the NFC Championship game where he had an elbow injury just this past year. They beat the Dallas Cowboys and then they played the Eagles and lost in that game. But he couldn't finish that game, right?
Yeah, similar deal.
Yeah, yeah. So Jason Romano is asking him about how his faith intersects with his experiences.
It's none of that. It's man, like, this is who God has called me to be, and I've believed that from day one. I believe that Jesus Christ did come down and died for my sins and rose again, and he's living, he's living and sitting beside God on the throne. And so I believe that. It's not just some story, fairy tale thing. It's real, and it allows me to, stay level-headed and real with life, and I know what my purpose is. And so that all has allowed me to play my game. It has allowed me to play football at this level. And, I don't go into the locker room telling everyone, I believe this or that. Or it just comes about, when guys ask me or they're interested and, what helps you do what you do, then, yeah, I share. But, the biggest thing for me is just loving on my teammates, being where they're at, relating with them, being a relatable teammate. And then, if they ask about what I believe in, then I'm all for sharing. So,
yeah. I am just, it's overwhelmingly exciting to me, I guess, that every time you turn around, it seems like you're meeting somebody with this kind of a testimony. You're, from the sports world. And that's not just the old, I give all the glory to God at the end of the game,
right.
because we won this game,
that's
right?
Depth, right?
That's some depth. That he has faith. You can tell he has faith. I think also of the Oklahoma softball team.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
After winning the championship, and they were talking with three of the girls on that team, for three of the young women on that team, about how they were able to maintain their joy throughout the season,
right.
and the answer that they gave was theological. It was deep, and not just that. Then they showed the entire team worshiping in the outfield. They're playing Chris Tomlin music in their celebration, and people in that stadium were all celebrating. And you look down, and you got some of the players out there singing worship songs with their hands in the air. It was an incredible sight.
I didn't see that.
And this is Oklahoma, a state university, right? But it's happening all over the place. There is, I would say, almost revival happening in athletics. What do you think?
Yeah.
Man of faith? He is a man of faith.
I mean, here, I know, at Ohio University, I feel like there's a really solid group of guys on the team who have genuine faith. And I think we all strive to be encouragement and support for one another. And we have a Bible study that we do every Wednesday. And I think in, every study that we have, I think that message comes up. Like, we should be the people that we lean on for support and encouragement. Because you're going to go search the world and you're not going to find what's going to answer and fulfill your needs. And so, I feel that in kind of the stuff in the community and the events that we're doing, kind of AIA, these studies. I think you can just feel that Christ is moving in some different ways, and it's really encouraging to see.
Yeah, I think that answers the mystery of how you're able to handle, a role that is, maybe not what your grandest expectation is, and that's because you have a greater purpose than football. So you think on a far greater level than just where your role is now. So that's something for everyone to keep in mind.
While you give your all where your feet are.
Absolutely.
If you're on the football field, you're giving everything you got to that moment. Even inside of that, or I guess even over and all encompassing purpose is so much greater.
Well, that's what Brock was alluding to there. People would come to him and ask him how he does it, and he would share his testimony. He doesn't have to go into the locker room and actually, preach to guys that maybe don't want to hear it. They become interested in who he is and how he handles things, how he handles adversity.
Well, it's how we're told, right? It's how we're told in the scripture.
It's the example,
to be prepared with an answer when someone asks you, right?
You
don't have to push it down somebody's throat because they're going to ask you when they see Christ in you.
Yeah.
You said you had a Brock Purdy story.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Well, so Brock's from Arizona. He went to high school at Perry High School. We played him when I was a sophomore. We played him.
Okay.
I wasn't the quarterback at the time. I was just brought up to varsity, and so I just remember kind of watching him drive down just time after time on
with
our defense,
ease.
with ease, and a lot of poise. He was just a guy that I looked up to because he's always been outspoken Christian. His family, solid in their faith, and there's not many people that I've placed before. These are my role models, but he is one of them.
Nice.
And so, anyways, he had graduated, and my junior and senior year, it was his brother's time to shine at Perry High School, Chubba Purdy.
Okay.
And Chubba is now at Nebraska. He was at Florida State, transferred to Nebraska. Chubba was highly recruited in high school. He was a 4-star guy. He's a baller, really fast. He plays similar to Brock, a little bit bigger and faster. And my junior year, we played them in the semis, and they take it. It could have been the quarters. They knock us out. And so from that point, Perry was kind of almost unspoken rival, in my eyes at least.
Sure.
Could have been just me. But the next year, my senior year, we're we want to get after them this year. We got to remember what they did to us last year. So we play them. And this is probably my most pleasant memory playing football and just out overall. It was in the quarters, and it was a shootout. And at this time, I wasn't highly recruited. It was my senior year. I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm just trusting things will work out. I'm sure there was a lot of coaches that came to see Chubba.
Right.
And at this time, he's highly recruited. So the game ends up being a shootout. It's 70-62 or something.
Wow.
And I forget.
Feel free to play some defense there.
Yeah, it was just crazy. The offensive power was
right. That's what it was. It was the two quarterbacks no one could stop them.
Just kind of just running around the field, just doing stuff. And it was just it was just awesome. I've never felt more in the flow in a game. After that game, I started getting some calls and some attention, and that was kind of a big turning point for me in my recruiting story. Anyways,
and that was your senior year, you said.
That was my senior year. And so a lot of I guess I will talk about my recruiting kind of journey. So And that's another reason I looked up to Brock, is he didn't get recruited until like his senior year, really late in the season.
I didn't know that.
Which is crazy to think about, but
Right.
he wasn't getting many offers.
Honestly, Joe didn't get a lot of, Burrow didn't get a lot of offers
I
until
could see
later
in
also.
football, because it's kind of football. You have the rest of that school year.
Yeah, but a lot of times they'll want them to come on, like they were wanting
Well,
Joe
that's true.
to forego basketball
To
and
go
come on to
early.
Ohio
That's
State's
true.
campus
Yeah.
in January.
Yeah, that's
to
true.
graduate early.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can do that.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
Yeah.
back to your story here.
So yeah, Brock, he kind of blew up really late, and it was like this story that spread around Arizona, super encouraging.
Yeah.
Like he's getting all these big time offers, and everyone was super happy for him. So something similar was I wasn't getting offers, and then late, like basically when the season was over, things kind of start happening. I'm about to commit to Sacramento State, or probably like was the best school at the time that offered me and best opportunity. I was going to go there. Held off because Hawaii came in really late.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want to offer you. So I held off, and I was going to early sign at the early signing period. But I just waited. My dad thought I should wait. I thought I should wait. And after that, it was just kind of like all these schools kind of came in. ASU, UCF, I know Boise State. Like I didn't have time to like think about the possibility. Like I had 2 weeks. I couldn't even go visit like some of these schools.
Right.
Oh, geez.
So my head was swirling, and I kind of just hated it because I wanted to just find a really good place that like I could trust, like that I felt good about.
You didn't have the ability to gather the information to make that decision.
Right.
Oh, man.
And
Yes.
so, anyways, I took my official to UCF, and then it came back. And the next week, I'm like, okay, I'll take my official to ASU, but I live 5 minutes down the road. That's in Tempe, Arizona. And I just knew I wanted to get away from home, kind of experience something new. And so that's why I made that decision. But back to Brock, yeah, he's kind of same stature as me. Kind of slippery player.
Yeah.
I feel like
You have a lot of Nathan Rourke in you in the way you play.
Yeah, Nathan too.
Your game is very similar.
Yeah, I remember my coach when he's recruiting me put on some of Nathan's films.
Did he?
Like,
Yeah.
I kind of see.
Yeah,
this.
I see it.
That's cool.
But yeah, Brock's always been a big leader for me, and I'm sure he doesn't remember, but there's at one point, and I think it was my senior year of high school. I'm just like, this guy plays so poised, and he's so calm under pressure, and he's a strong Christian. Like I need to pick his mind a little bit, and so I kind of talked about that. I'm like, how do you play under pressure? How do you find confidence and play relaxed, play so free? And he sent me this long paragraph.
Also, you did talk to him.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I've trained with Brock a few times
Gotcha.
back home. But he sent me this long paragraph about kind of his faith and how he approaches things, and I just thought that meant the world to me.
And that was when? What year?
Maybe my senior year of high school.
Yeah. And so it would have been 4 or 5 years or so before the video that we just listened to. I mean, so it's not something new.
Right.
It's something
Oh,
that's
yeah.
been
Yes,
it's instilled
absolutely.
in Brock Purdy, right? It's instilled. in these
Yeah.
guys.
Oh, yeah.
These aren't. This isn't just like all these guys. Sometimes someone will give their life to Christ and then they get really excited about it, and that's all they talk about,
Sure.
right? And you can. It's like, yeah, that'll wear off.
Yeah,
It doesn't wear off when it's real.
Yeah, he's been this way.
Yeah.
So that meant the world to me, and that's kind of
That's awesome.
He's always been a person I'd look up to. So.
Parker, you just really disappoint me because it's going to be harder for me to watch the Browns just decimate.
Oh
Brock
no,
in a couple
you're a Browns fan. Gotta get Sam on
and
here.
not insufferable Browns fan, as almost all of them are. Although, I do have a
We play
question.
the 49ers in a couple weeks.
I saw
we'll see
that,
Brock.
yeah.
I actually have Brock's my starting quarterback on my fantasy
team.
Same. Been doing pretty good.
Yeah,
You gonna start him that day?
absolutely. I always hedge with my fantasy.
That's a
teams.
tough defense he's going to be going against.
He
though.
is.
That defense for the Browns is legit.
Hey, either way, if he does great, then it works for my fantasy team.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, then it works for the
I
Browns.
tell you what, that Bengals defense last night looked good. Didn't
They did.
It looked tough.
They looked
Playing
good.
well.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the Rams fans were like, "What are we doing offensively?"
Yeah,
because
everyone always thinks that.
I know.
It's the first thing you thought. These guys
But did you
stink.
see how
What's
much
wrong with
those
them?
guys were twisting up front and everything? And
Yeah.
some of the schemes. I mean, Stafford was
Well,
smothered all
the
second half.
Gooberhead, the linebacker, made 2 great plays. I mean, it wasn't like those were
yeah.
right to him. Those were great plays he made.
Yeah.
Logan Wilson. that's
Oh
what
yeah,
I
with the
think.
2 interceptions.
Gooberhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a Bengals.
We were watching that at the end of AIA last night. We had that game on, and I made April drive home so I could watch. I want to go back to something. Did you beat Perry and Chuba in that
game?
quarterfinal game?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got him back. You
We
got
did.
your
We
revenge.
got him back. Yeah.
Good deal.
Yep.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, that was high school. Now you've been in college for a few years. What's been the biggest difference between your high school and college sports experience?
Yeah. The biggest difference. You come to college, everybody has really good ability and skills. That's obviously, the first thing you see initially. You're surrounded by talent. But how much of an emphasis, your life is now centered kind of around sports.
Well,
And in high school, you're just having fun playing sports. Now it's like in college, this is what you do. Like, you're here for a reason. And it's like if you let it, it will switch your attitude towards how you view your sport.
Yeah.
You can become a little hardened. You can be afraid to make mistakes. It feels almost business-like. Yeah.
would you say you have to love the sport that you play in college?
Oh yeah. And I mean, but love, the way I see love is it's a decision. You choose to love.
Sure.
You have to have like that internal reward that you get from playing. And you have to have because I've played with guys where it's like, I'm like, do you love it? Like, no. But they finished their 4 years.
Yeah.
They've, some starters.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, not anymore. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah.
But
I
they've
understand.
pushed through a lot of, adversity. Like some of these guys that I'm thinking about in my head. I guess I'm trying to pinpoint a trait right now in my head. And grit, whatever you want to call it, perseverance. You're going to have to be able to endure not receiving what you want right away. And you're going to have enough hope and commitment to eventually achieve that. So, and that's, it's, yeah.
I would guess coming into a situation where, coming out of high school, you're the star. You're the one running around the field. There's no question that you're going to start and play every game. And then you arrive on the college campus where there are a lot of people who are as good as you and some that are better than you. And part of you is like, as a competitor, you're like, that's cool because you love the sport and you want to be able to see the sport played at the highest level because you love that sport. It's more fun to play when you're good and when your team is good.
Yeah.
And so part of that is, all right, let's get after it. Let's go. But then the other part of it is, I got to get after it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get lost here.
There is no option on that. I don't think you have to be.
Oh, yeah.
You have to come in ready to compete.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Well, and I would guess too. It's interesting to me that you have talked with guys who've like, I don't love it, or I'm going to guess that those are people that probably obviously love the sport, or they wouldn't have played in college, but also they value commitment.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm not going to quit this.
There's a lot of complexity
Yes.
to that.
There
yes,
is.
to
There is.
how they feel.
Right.
Because they're looking forward to something beyond it. But
I'm ready
in
for
that
the next
moment-
chapter in my life. This has been great. Yeah.
Right in that moment, would they walk away from it?
Yeah.
And they don't. They finish. So there's I think there's an element of that. They still have to love it a little bit, even though they may not. They may not.
I think
see
the
it.
bottom line is it's really difficult to get along in college playing a sport if you don't really truly love it and love the grind.
Right.
Of it.
And to your point, like you can let it drain you, or you can let it energize you. And it's it's all how you see it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's a
And you
golden
can see
word
that
right
happen
there.
to both. You see both kinds of people walking around campus too. You can see the people as draining on them.
Totally.
And yeah.
In all levels, you can see that.
Yeah.
Well, right. I mean, when you project yourself 10 years from now, if you don't love your job, it's going to drain you.
Yeah.
And that same work, I mean, if you absolutely love it, it doesn't mean that you're energized by it. It doesn't mean you're doing less work. In fact, it could mean that you're probably doing more work in your job. But it's just different. It's different. You love what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. You always hear that people say, find a job that you love. And I think that's not such a straightforward thing to do. You have to, it's a choice. Parker, you said earlier that love it's a commitment. It's a choice, a decision that you make, to love something. You just, it's not just something.
Yeah, because you don't always have the choice. You don't always get to choose what your job is.
Exactly.
Not everybody that's listening to us has chosen the job that they're working right now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But you could still you could still love life and love, the impact that you can have with the people that you're working with. And there's so much more that you can value.
Well, and again,
the relationships that are there.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes back to what we said earlier about having a higher purpose.
Yeah.
Than even, the things that we experience here in this world.
Yeah.
That kind of drives us.
For sure.
What's your favorite thing about OU's campus?
It's so scenic.
Yes.
I mean, that's very broad, but like the river, the fall. I mean,
Do you like the cool weather?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it yet. I mean, there's times where it's like, it's freezing out. Like, I got my jacket.
Like today when it was 60.
Yeah.
I hate
Arizona
cold weather.
guys. Yeah.
I would rather it be 100 than 30.
I envy people that live out in Arizona or down in Florida.
I think that's where I want to go. Well,
We're getting old, Pat.
There's benefits. Like, I remember when I first got here, I had like all my stuff packed in my car in Florida. And when I flew up here, I only had my suitcase stuff. And so that was it was still cold because it was in the spring.
Yeah.
So it was still pretty
spring
cold.
is cold.
Yeah.
Here.
And I was like talking to my roommate, Sam Wiggs, and I'm like, dude, it's freezing. I don't have any jackets. Like, I didn't pack any jackets or like sweats because in Florida, it was like, you're wearing shorts and a shirt. And so
all the time.
Yeah, I had to wait for my dad to like fly out, and he was, it was going to be a week or something.
Did you have any of that in your wardrobe?
No.
I'm gonna say Arizona to Florida.
Yeah, could you imagine him wearing a sweatshirt?
I know.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was like completely not prepared. And I got a lot more jackets now and like sweats, team issued stuff mostly.
Yeah.
How's your sinuses? That might be a little bit too
Oh, it's bad.
Have you been
here.
sick?
Yeah, well, yeah, the spring was rough.
Yeah.
The spring was rough. I had bad allergies.
I feel like it's gotten worse.
In this part of the world, it is. I mean, you probably didn't have it this bad.
No, never. I never experienced that. Yeah.
When those seasons change and you're out there walking around that golf course and you just see the yellow pollen blowing around everywhere off those trees.
Yeah, I agree. I've lived in this area my whole life, and my brother came to Ohio University for a few years, and I would come up and visit. And I've always been fond of the scenery. For, whatever reason. I love that green.
Yeah.
I would come up, and I work in IT here on campus, and I would come up and sit on the benches here and just work from there.
Yeah.
Just thinking, I love it. Yeah, it's just great.
Yeah.
And especially this time of year. This is my favorite time of year.
When they were recruiting me, they sent me like a video of like a drone flying over Athens. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
It's very popular, but it's gorgeous.
It's for some people, it's the difference maker in their choice.
Totally.
I mean,
It's just a really cool place.
yeah. And some people who we have a lot of students who come from like the Cleveland area, and whether it's the suburbs or closer to the city, I think they like coming here because it's rural. It's just different. I mean, it's still Ohio, but it's completely different from where they grew up. And it's not Cleveland, let's be honest. Who wants to live in Cleveland?
America City. Are you referring to that? Did you say your roommate was a Browns fan, or is he like a
huge Browns fan?
Good man.
From Cleveland too.
That's a guy.
you-
Here's the thing, Parker.
Are you a Cardinals fan? Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah.
This Sunday was rough for the Cowboys.
Parker, that guy as your friend, you'll never have to worry about him leaving you.
Huh?
You'll never have to worry about him leaving. He'll always be your friend.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, Browns
That
fans.
Browns fan, the most loyal.
It's been, you know, you can, if you can maintain being a Browns fan, you get through anything.
That's probably true. He's proven a loyal friend thus far. So
Goodness,
That's right.
you're a St. Louis Cardinals fan too, aren't you? Did I read that somewhere?
No, they put that in my bio. That's
because you said you were a Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
But they thought that's
thought
odd that
baseball.
they went directly to baseball. It's
I
because
know.
people forget that Arizona has a football team.
right. Or
Well, they have a baseball team too.
Well, I know.
Well, it's not the Cardinals.
But, yeah, the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you're not.
are you
no affiliation with the St. Louis Cardinals.
But are you a Diamondbacks fan? You're not a baseball guy.
Not a huge
We've
baseball
talked about
guy,
that.
but Diamondbacks, yeah.
We still had him on our podcast, and he's not a baseball
I
guy.
know. Thank you.
Yeah, we do that. We do that.
Yeah, you didn't play any baseball, did you, growing up?
T-ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much not baseball.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't count.
Yeah. I didn't. I wish I stayed. When I was doing my rehab for my elbow. It was at a place called Exos. It's a pretty popular PT place.
Oh, I know. Krimchek has done a lot of surgeries for Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
Well, not just them. I mean,
Well, so the PT place was called Exos. It wasn't.
Oh, the
this
PT
wasn't
place.
Krimchek's.
Gotcha.
But a lot of like NFL, MLB,
Yeah.
like just any professional sports will go there to train. The guy did my like external rotation test. He's like, you have more external rotation than any MLB pitcher I've ever worked with.
yeah.
And he's like, a lot of people ask me too, like a pitching coach one time at UCF asked me, he's like, have you ever played baseball? He's like, your scap is like very loose. Like you're able to get really far back. I guess that is good for speed.
Is that volleyball?
I don't know. I swam.
Oh, definitely.
I swam.
That helps you in
I don't know
everything.
about external rotation, but the scap definitely would make a difference, I would
I
think.
feel like it's backwards. I feel like if your scat that gets worse. Like as baseball players, we
Well,
want
it gets loose, though.
yeah, because you got to strengthen it, but not in it. Like I wouldn't think it'd be a good thing.
You wouldn't want it to be loose.
Evidently, this
It was good for him, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Again, we're in water that I don't know a whole lot about.
Well,
That's where we need to bring Brock on.
It's funny
my
because-
son Brock and Doug, because he would throw this stuff.
Remember,
around.
Maya's been having trouble. My youngest son's been having trouble with his bicep, and the doctor said that his internal rotation was bad. Like he can only rotate down to about right here, and he was giving him a bunch of stretches to try to increase that to help, because it said because of that it put pressure on a scap, which
It's all connected.
It all comes back down. So
What position did you play on the volleyball floor?
I was a libero.
no way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not tall enough.
Well,
to
no,
be-
I was wondering if you were
Yeah.
like a defensive player or a libero. Yeah.
Definitely libero. They put me on varsity when I was a freshman at this one school. We weren't good.
Okay.
And the coach was awesome. He was like an Olympic volleyball player. And he's like, dude, I think you could be really good. So he just kind of threw me up there.
He trusted you.
And it was
It's awesome.
It was really fun. Like, out of blast.
And that was your first
time.
opportunity at libero?
Yeah, and I remember I was in this tournament with all these like seniors, and we're playing this really good school, and I get drilled in the head. And I'm like, I'm in the
I
right.
don't know how you react to
It comes at you
okay.
quick. This guy's like 6'4". He had several offers for volleyball. That's all I heard.
and it
about
comes
him.
straight down.
Yeah. It's coming straight down.
Except when it hits you in the head. Yeah. So it's like straight down, boom, hit you in the head.
And so I was in the right spot. He's like, good job. You got to the right spot. Like you were there. Just get your
You're
hands
seeing
up
stars.
there.
I need to go through concussion protocol right now, but yeah, I guess I was in the right spot.
Yeah.
The ball hit me in the head.
I really like volleyball.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's a
I don't want.
blast.
I don't want him to play it in the spring, but did you see the surprise in his voice when he had to explain why he was playing varsity as a freshman?
Yeah.
We weren't very
Right.
good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're a good volleyball player, but we could have a whole episode about that. Why
The expectation just wasn't there,
Right.
To play. Yeah, we deal with the opposite.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I think a lot of that is because we coach at smaller schools.
Yeah.
But there's something, but it hasn't always been that way, even at smaller schools.
No.
It really hasn't. There's become this expectation, and I think it's because more players who come into high school, they're athletically skills wise, they have. Some of these kids have some good skill. They can play varsity ball. old school coaches would never play a freshman on the varsity team. You got to buy your time, right? So we don't have any freshmen or sophomores on the varsity team. Varsity is junior and seniors. And so I think part of that culture has changed because coaching mindset has changed, and as we're going to put the best 9, 11, 5, however many there are out there to try to win the game. Sometimes that's a freshman. But now it's like that pendulum has swung all the way over to where there's this expectation from the players and the parents that if my kid doesn't make the varsity team as soon as he steps out of 8th grade and into 9th grade, he's going to quit. Why play?
Really?
Yeah.
Why play?
And
we deal with that.
Wow.
It's almost a disappointment
Yes.
if a freshman comes in that's played, football their whole life, good football player, and then doesn't get put on the varsity team in some role. It's almost a disappointment. And I would say, well, I'm not afraid to say it.
Yes,
I think we need to change that.
I agree.
I think we need to change that. So
I'll tell you where it really shows up. The reason why coaches would choose not to put a freshman in those roles on the varsity team, it shows itself in the postseason.
yeah,
When
experience and then
yes.
the awareness, things like that.
Yeah, you might have the skills to be there, but if I've got a senior who's already been there for 4 years and you've not experienced tournament play yet, I'm probably going to not give the nod to the senior because
that's
there's something
point.
to be said about that experience, and the heart rate's a little slower for that guy. He's it's different.
Yeah.
The experience and the maturity is a little bit different.
Yep, good point, Coach. Yep.
So, man, it's been great chatting with you.
It has.
What have we left out? What did you come in here today wanting to say to everybody? All 1,000 people that are going to download this episode at some point in the next month.
10,000.
10,000. That's right.
Our breakthrough.
Think big.
Yeah, breakthrough video. I don't know. Didn't have much of an agenda. I guess.
We rarely do, also.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, I enjoyed the conversation though. That was
Me
nice.
too, man. It's great meeting you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. Good luck.
Next game is homecoming.
Yeah.
This is not an off week. It's a bye week.
Bye week.
Right. But homecoming here on Ohio University's campus against Kent State.
Kent
State.
Coming into town. Yeah.
Should be a good one.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep.
Any of these MAC schools are big ones.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. That BG game this past week was just
was awesome.
beautiful. Just
Yeah.
buried those guys
Oh, it was.
from start to finish.
Yeah.
That's
We
good.
enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, I'm going to guess the word of the day for Bowling Green come Monday was discipline. They probably had a little extra work to do.
Yeah, a little extracurricular.
Yeah, I'm going to guess. I mean, there were 4 guys ejected in that game?
Yeah.
I know there were
was
3,
around
but
there.
Sergio, some other guys on the sidelines were saying, I think there was 4. I remembered, well, in one play, one guy had 2 unsportsmanlike penalties on one play.
Did he come out?
That lineman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I noticed that.
That's one too many.
One too many.
It's two too many.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I noticed what's his name, Ford for Ohio State he got a personal foul after play. Just jumped on a lineman, got a personal foul, and they just kept him in. That's I don't know.
Who was it?
Ohio State played when they played Notre Dame. He jumped on one of the. They got a first
I
down.
thought the running back for the Browns' name was Ford.
He is
Gerald. Was it
Jerome.
Oh, they have one too.
Yeah.
I didn't know who the Ohio State player was.
Yeah, I can't remember if that's his name or not. But I was just.
We're not
wondering
allowed to
because-
talk about Ohio State here while we have an Ohio Bobcat in the studio. with
Oh
us.
well, I was saying he was undisciplined.
His roommate's from Ohio State though.
Yeah.
A transfer.
Sam is.
Sam is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah, tell Sam I said hi and go Browns.
I will. he's the loyal friend that you're talking about.
Oh my goodness.
Never have to worry about
is
it.
he
with you.
insufferable though?
On Sundays.
Like, is he always like, oh, we're gonna find a way to blow this.
yeah.
Don't worry,
I
we'll
mean,
find a way to blow it.
He's pretty optimistic. he's optimistic.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's
Old
only,
Sam can play some golf
it's
too.
only week 3, Parker. Give him some time.
See what I'm saying? Perfect. That's what we mean. So, well, cool. Hey, yep. Have a great rest of the year, buddy.
thank you.
Yep.